peregrine falcon is the speed champion among animals. In a hunting dive, it can reach speeds of nearly 400 kilometers per hour. That's faster than a Formula One car. The secret lies in the bird folding its wings, transforming into a living arrow. Imagine watching a pigeon in the sky, and suddenly a peregrine falcon swoops down from above at breakneck speed, catches it, and ascends again. It all happens in seconds, and the prey doesn't even have time to realise what just occurred. This natural predator demonstrates that bird aerodynamics have been perfected. Did you know that scientists experimented with inverted glasses? In the 1890s, psychologist George Stratton gave volunteers special glasses that turned the image upside down. In the first few days, people stumbled, struggled to eat or write, but gradually the brain adapted. After a week, they were seeing the world correctly again. And when they took off the glasses, everything around them seemed inverted once more. This experiment proved that perception is not fixed. The brain can reshape our view of the world. It turns out we see reality not with our eyes, but with our minds, which learn to interpret it. Strangely, female tarantulas live much longer than males, up to 40 years. While males have a short lifespan after reaching maturity, females can survive for several decades. Moreover, they can go without food for up to 2 years if they have access to water. This resilience makes them some of the most unusual spiders. For many, tarantulas symbolize fear, but in reality, they are surprisingly patient and enduring creatures. Their lives are slow, almost stretched out in time. And if spiders know how to wait, female tarantulas are true champions of this art. In Japan, there are unusual hotels where guests are greeted not by people, but by robots. Imagine being welcomed by an android at the reception, while a mechanical porter delivers your luggage to your room. Even cleaning and service are partially handled by machines. This network is called Henna Hotel, and it has become a true attraction. For tourists, it's an opportunity to glimpse the future, where technology and service merge into one. Of course, sometimes robots make mistakes and humans have to step in, but the experiences are unforgettable. The Japanese have once again proven that if you're looking for futuristic ideas in everyday life, you should look to them. A hotel with robots is a reality where you can spend the night today. In the late 90s, Furby toys appeared in the US. Furry, chatty creatures with electronic eyes. Rumours circulated that they could record conversations and send them somewhere. It got to the point where they were officially banned from government facilities, including the National Security Agency. Of course, it turned out that Furbies were not spies at all, just a myth and panic surrounding a new toy. But history shows how people sometimes fear technology. A toy designed for children's play briefly became a dangerous agent. Funny, isn't it? Want to hear one of the strangest reasons for toxicity? Bright poison dart frogs are deadly. Their skin secretes a toxin that can kill a human. But here's the surprising part, they aren't toxic on their own. In captivity, where they are fed a regular diet, their skin becomes safe. It turns out the secret lies in their diet. In the wild, they eat specific ants and insects that contain toxic substances. So the poison is a result of their nutrition. Nature seems to show that even a small frog can become a weapon if it has the right ingredients on its menu. Scientists love to say that the water we drink today has existed since the time of the dinosaurs. Water molecules are constantly circulating, evaporating, falling as rain, flowing into rivers and seas. Imagine this. By sipping a glass of water, you might be drinking the very same molecules that quenched the thirst of a triceratops millions of years ago. This cycle makes us part of a vast system where the past and present intertwine in every drop. Even ordinary water turns out to be a connection between us and the prehistoric world. In China, there is an unusual village called Bama. where many residents live to be 100 years old or more. Scientists attribute this to a combination of clean air, mineral water, and a local diet rich in herbs and vegetables, with almost no bad habits. However, the locals have a different perspective. The secret lies in harmony with nature and a positive mindset. People here continue to work physically into old age, take walks, tend to their gardens, and their lives are filled with movement. Tourists come to see these lively seniors, hoping to adopt their habits. This place has become a symbol of the idea that longevity is not just about genetics, but also about a lifestyle that values simplicity and tranquility. In the Middle Ages, there was an unusual unit of volume, the ton. But it wasn't the familiar weight measurement, it referred to the amount of wine that could fit in a huge barrel. Merchants and winemakers use this method of measurement for trade. Imagine at a fair, deals were made not in litres or even barrels, but in whole tons of wine. Today, this word is associated with heaviness and mass, but once it was linked to joy and feasting. This detail of history serves as a reminder that many modern terms originated from very practical needs of the past, when wine was almost a currency. On the southern coast of Iceland, there is a black beach that is never the same. Every year, its contours change. New dunes rise in some areas, while in others, the sand completely disappears. This is all due to winds and powerful underwater currents that move the sand along the shore. Locals and tourists note that today the beach looks one way, but a year later it's different, as if someone has rearranged its parts. It feels like nature itself is painting new scenes right on the shore. This place has become a true mystery for scientists and attracts travellers, as here one can literally witness the changing land and feel the breath of the ocean, capable of reshaping entire landscapes. Scientists have noticed an intriguing habit. When leaving a cave, bats almost always turn left. Why? One theory suggests that this helps them avoid collisions in their large colony. Imagine an intersection without traffic lights, where thousands of cars decide to go only in one direction. It's the same for bats. This common rule of movement makes flying safer. What seems trivial to us is a matter of survival for them. In the dark, order is especially important, and nature has elegantly solved this issue. Left it is. The phrase, "the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog," is known for containing every letter of the English alphabet. Such sentences are called pangrams. They are used to test fonts, practice typing, or evaluate keyboards. However, this is not a concept from the computer age. Calligraphers in ancient times also created pangrams to refine their handwriting. Imagine having to come up with a phrase that includes all the letters while still sounding meaningful. It's like a verbal puzzle that combines language and play. About 10% of people on the planet are left-handed. The world is primarily designed for right-handed individuals, from scissors and door handles to school desks. However, left-handed people often stand out with a unique style of thinking. There's a theory that their brain hemispheres function differently, which may explain the prevalence of creative and unconventional personalities among them. Imagine living in a world where everything is slightly inconvenient, yet this inconvenience can sometimes spark ingenuity. Left-handed individuals seem to see the world from a different perspective. High humidity can make heat almost unbearable for a person. When it's hot and humid outside, the body literally loses its ability to cool down. The thing is, sweat stops evaporating from the skin, meaning the body can't shed excess heat. As a result, we feel weakness, fatigue, and even stress. It's like trying to dry laundry on a foggy day. It stays wet no matter how much time passes. That's why high humidity feels more oppressive than dry heat. The body simply can't cope with natural cooling. Who would have thought that the most stolen book in the world is the Bible? Despite the sanctity of the text, it is the Bible that is most often the target of theft. In hotels, libraries and stores, it is stolen more frequently than any other book. Perhaps it's because it's always within reach, or because someone considers it public property. Ironically, the book that contains the commandment, "Thou shalt not steal," is most often the one that gets stolen. This serves as a reminder that even the most elevated ideas can clash with the everyday weaknesses of human nature. Some species of turtles can breathe through their cloaca. It sounds funny, but it's actually an important survival adaptation. During cold weather, they can be under ice where there's almost no oxygen. That's when special cavities in the cloaca come into play, allowing them to absorb oxygen from the water. It's a sort of backup breathing. The turtle seems to say, well, if my nose and mouth aren't working, I have an alternative. This mechanism enables them to stay underwater for hours and even hibernate without coming up for air. Sometimes a word that sounds like a joke hides a very real pain in the muscles. Caripatura is a term sometimes used to refer to muscle soreness, that familiar feeling when your muscles start to ache after a workout. Scientifically, it's called delayed onset muscle soreness and occurs due to microtears in the fibres. The body responds to the strain with inflammation to repair the tissues, which is why the muscles hurt more the next day. In everyday life, this is perceived as a punishment for exercising, but in reality, it's a sign that the body is adapting and becoming stronger. One could say that caripatura is a receipt that the body gives you for the work done. Even the great Benjamin Franklin used electricity for fun pranks. One of the founding fathers of the United States was not only a politician and scientist, but also a big fan of practical jokes. Franklin conducted experiments with electricity and once electrified the crown in a portrait of King George II of England. When guests tried to touch it, they were shocked. Franklin laughed and called this trick the electric shock of treason. Sometimes he would ask people to hold hands so the shock would pass along, creating a whole chain of laughing conspirators. For him, even science was an excuse for fun. Did you know that the largest island nation is Indonesia? This country consists of more than 17,000 islands, but the exact number is still unknown even to the government. Some islands disappear underwater, while others emerge from volcanoes. Indonesia is like a living puzzle that is constantly changing. It is the largest archipelago on the planet, and its geography contributes to its diversity, from tropical beaches to dense jungles and sprawling megacities. Here, literally every area is a separate world with its own culture, language, and traditions. The paradox is that nuclear energy is considered safer than conventional coal and gas. Many people associate nuclear power with accidents and radiation danger, recalling Chernobyl or Fukushima, and that ends the discussion. However, statistics tell a different story. When comparing the number of victims and illnesses caused by various energy sources, coal and gas prove to be far more dangerous. Hundreds of thousands suffer from lung diseases due to emissions from power plants, while the climate takes a severe hit. In contrast, nuclear plants generate energy with almost no carbon emissions, and accidents are extremely rare. Thus we have a paradox. The frightening word nuclear instills fear, even though in reality it saves lives. Today, the pyramids of Giza appear grey and austere, but in ancient times they looked quite different. They were covered with smooth, white limestone slabs that reflected sunlight and shone like giant mirrors in the desert. The peaks of some pyramids were adorned with golden caps, pyramidions, that sparkled especially brightly. Imagine how it must have looked, white mountains with golden tops under the blazing sun. Modern tourists see only the stone cores, but once these were the most dazzling structures on earth, symbols of the wealth and power of the pharaohs. Even now, thousands of years later, they still captivate the imagination. You won't believe it, but a parrot swore at the funeral of a US president. Andrew Jackson, the 7th president of America, had a favourite parrot. His owner often cursed, and the bird quickly picked up the habit. When Jackson died, the parrot was brought to the funeral, but instead of a solemn silence, the guests heard a stream of profanity. The priest had to ask for it to be removed to avoid embarrassing the attendees. It created a strange scene, a president known for his strong character and his feathered friend, who seemed to continue his speech even after death. The story shows that even parrots can leave a vivid legacy. In the ocean, there are real lakes hidden beneath the water's surface. They are called brines or salt pools. The reason is that in certain areas the water is so saturated with salt that it becomes denser than regular seawater. As a result, a boundary forms resembling the surface of a new lake, even though it lies on the ocean floor. These pools look astonishing. Underwater, there is another surface, smooth and shiny. Unique organisms adapted to extreme conditions thrive in them. Scientists study these places as analogues of extraterrestrial worlds. As life there is vastly different from what we know. It turns out that even on our planet, one can find almost alien landscapes. Human hearing is limited to frequencies ranging from about 20 to 20,000 Hertz. Anything below is infrasound, and anything above is ultrasound. We can't hear them, but animals can. Dogs respond to whistles that sound like silence to us, while dolphins communicate using frequencies beyond our hearing range. This means that the world around us is much richer in sounds than we can perceive. It's as if we're listening to a radio on one frequency, while there are dozens of stations. This serves as a reminder that our senses are just a small filter of reality. Unexpectedly, the word sect originally had an honourable connotation rather than a frightening one. Today, sect refers to suspicious religious groups associated with deception or fanaticism. However, in ancient Rome, the term secta had a neutral meaning, school or teaching. It was used to describe philosophical movements and groups of students and followers. For example, the Stoics or Epicureans were considered sects. Only over time, as many religious communities with questionable reputations emerged, did the word take on a negative connotation. Ironically, a term that once meant school of knowledge has transformed into a frightening label. The history of language can be just as surprising as the history of humanity. Egypt can confidently be called the oldest state in the world. Its history spans over 5,000 years, beginning with the unification of Upper and Lower Kingdoms. The pyramids, temples, and the mysterious Nile are not just beautiful images, but symbols of a civilization that laid the foundation for many cultures. Imagine, while Europe was still unaware of writing, the Egyptians were already constructing majestic tombs and writing in hieroglyphs. And even though thousands of years have passed, Egypt still holds secrets that scholars are unravelling, like the pages of the oldest book in the world. In the old houses of Venice and Florence, secret staircases hidden within the walls are still being discovered. Aristocrats built them as a backup escape route in case of danger or attack. These concealed passages led to secret rooms or allowed for a discreet exit from the house. Today, such discoveries captivate tourists. You enter an old mansion and suddenly find a small door, behind which lies a narrow spiral staircase, leading who knows where. It feels as if the house itself is guarding its secrets. These architectural tricks serve as a reminder that life in past centuries was not only luxurious, but also dangerous, requiring caution and clever solutions. You won't believe it, but there is a whale known as the loneliest in the world. Scientists discovered a whale nicknamed the 52 Hertz whale. It sings at a frequency different from all other whales, and no one responds to it. Its call goes unheard or misunderstood. This whale seems to sing an eternal song in solitude. Its story has become a metaphor for human isolation and loneliness. Millions of people around the planet empathise with it, seeing their own feelings reflected in its plight. Sometimes even an animal becomes a symbol of what it means to be misunderstood in a vast world. Ocean giants, sperm whales, are capable of communicating over thousands of kilometres. These ocean behemoths use powerful vibrations for communication that travel through water over vast distances. Scientists suggest that one sperm whale can call another located on the other side of the ocean. However, these same vibrations can be dangerous for humans. Getting too close can lead to paralysis or even death. Thus, sperm whales have their own underwater telephone network that operates far more efficiently than many of our technologies. Their language has not yet been fully deciphered, but it is already clear that it is one of the most complex systems in the animal kingdom. A story that sounds like a paradox. A fashion brand burns its own bags. Louis Vuitton and other luxury brands destroy unsold goods. They do this to prevent items from going on sale and devaluing the brand. Bags, clothing and accessories worth millions of dollars are burned or disposed of each year. It turns out that to maintain the company's image, they are willing to destroy what for many people symbolises wealth. This is shocking, but in the fashion world, the logic is different. It's better to burn thousands of bags than to let them sell for less. It's interesting to consider which invention has become the most widespread in history. It's the transistor. Today, they are produced in the trillions, with hundreds of millions of transistors for every person on Earth, embedded in computers, phones, and household appliances. Electronics wouldn't function without them. Transistors are so small that we often overlook them, yet they are the building blocks of the digital world. If humanity were imagined as a city, transistors would be the bricks that make up every building, unseen, tiny, but utterly indispensable. The word laser seems familiar and simple, but in reality, it's an acronym. It stands for Light Amplification by Stimulated Emission of Radiation. It sounds complicated, but the essence is straightforward. The technology allows energy to be directed into a powerful beam. Lasers are now used in medicine, science, industry, and even in the entertainment industry. It's amusing that a word we say every day hides a whole technical definition within it. It's as if a long name is concealed behind a short sign, and the term itself has become a symbol of progress, turning into part of everyday speech. Many people consider donkeys to be stubborn and dull animals, but in reality, they are much smarter and more emotional than they seem. Donkeys have excellent memories for friends, both humans and other animals, and can hold on to such memories for up to 20 years. They can sense their owner's mood, enjoy attention, feel jealous, and even become sad if ignored. In fact, donkeys have a rich inner world and value friendship just as much as dogs do. Therefore, it's not surprising that in countries where donkeys live alongside people, they are regarded not just as helpers, but almost as full-fledged family members. Those ears and gentle eyes hide much more than we tend to think. Only humans can blush. This phenomenon is linked to the expansion of blood vessels in the face during emotions like shame, excitement, or love. You've probably caught yourself feeling your cheeks betray you after an awkward comment or an unexpected compliment. It's amusing, but no dog, cat, or even intelligent monkey can blush. There's something very human about this. We not only think and speak, but we also wear our emotions right on our faces, like a living mood indicator. In Patagonia, there is a hill that produces melodic sounds when the wind blows over it. Locals call it the Singing Hill and consider it a natural wonder. Imagine climbing to the top and hearing the shimmering tones as if a giant flute is playing. Scientists explain this phenomenon by the unique structure of the stones and the cavities through which the air flows. But for tourists, it feels more like a concert put on by the earth itself. They even organise tours where people simply sit and listen to the hill play. It turns out that nature has its own musical instrument, and it sounds better than any speaker. Many people believe that lightning never strikes the same place twice, but that's a myth. In reality, for example, the Empire State Building in New York gets hit by lightning about 100 times a year. Tall buildings and structures seem to attract electricity, and their tops are specially equipped with lightning rods to prevent damage from strikes. So, lightning doesn't avoid old spots. In fact, it loves to return to them again and again. So if you find yourself near a skyscraper during a storm, know that it's one of the most common places for lightning to meet the ground. Nature once again proves that it doesn't adhere to pretty sayings. In Sweden, donors receive a message on their phone when their blood is used to save someone's life. Imagine, you donate blood, and a couple of days later, you get an SMS saying, "Thank you. Today, your blood helped a patient." It's not only a nice gesture, but also gives a sense that your action truly matters. People start donating blood more often because they see the results right on their phones. This simple step turns an ordinary procedure into a heartwarming story of human solidarity. And perhaps it's the best like in the world. It sounds incredible, but the diamond market is artificially restricted. For decades, De Beers has been buying up diamonds and keeping them in stock to create scarcity. In reality, there are enough of these stones in the world, but due to supply control, they have become a symbol of luxury and a must-have for engagements. The phrase, "diamonds are forever," was also created by advertising. Thus, the value of diamonds is not just about their beauty, but also a carefully constructed illusion. Millions of people believe that diamonds are rare and unique, even though their price is largely the result of clever marketing strategies. The Leaning Tower of Pisa has been considered leaning for centuries, but thanks to the foundation reinforcement, it still stands today. In the 1990s, engineers carried out complex work. They excavated soil from one side and added supports to prevent the tilt from increasing. As a result, the tower was stabilised and it has even straightened a bit. Imagine, a symbol of Italy could have collapsed, but the efforts of scientists turned it into a stable monument. Tourists still take pictures supporting it with their hands, but now we can be sure it will stand for at least another 200 years. It's hard to believe, but guilt can arise even from happiness. In psychology, this is referred to as survivor's guilt. This state is often experienced by those who have survived a tragedy or by those who are doing well while their loved ones are suffering. Joy can feel like a betrayal. A person may begin to feel internal discomfort because they have what others lack: health, a job, a family. It's paradoxical, as happiness should bring joy, yet sometimes it becomes a burden. This phenomenon reminds us that emotions do not always adhere to logic. In Rome, a pizza over 40 metres in diameter was once baked. It was named Ottavia, in honour of the Roman emperor. The weight of this culinary monster exceeded 23 tons. Special ovens and a team of pizzaiolos worked for several days to prepare it. Imagine a square where instead of asphalt, there's a giant crust topped with tomato sauce and cheese. This pizza could feed an entire city. Interestingly, it was completely gluten-free, ensuring that the record not only amazed, but also catered to those with dietary restrictions. A true gastronomic spectacle for all of Italy. Camels are the champions of the desert. They can drink up to 130 litres of water in just 13 minutes. It's like a person draining an entire bathtub in one go. Their bodies are designed to retain moisture. Their blood and tissues are adapted to withstand dehydration, and they hardly sweat at all. Because of this, camels survive where other animals wouldn't last a day. It's no wonder they are called ships of the desert. They carry loads and people across the scorching sands like enormous living water tanks. The most numerous bird in the world is neither the sparrow nor the pigeon, but the tiny red-billed quail. This small bird, found in Africa south of the Sahara, gathers in massive flocks and literally devastates grain fields. For farmers, they are a true plague. Thousands of these birds can strip a harvest in just a few hours. The flocks of quailias are so enormous that they appear like a moving cloud. Scientists consider them the most abundant bird species on Earth. Ironically, in cities we tend to view pigeons as symbols of mass presence, but the record actually belongs to these small African weavers. We often perceive the nose as just an ordinary organ of smell, but in reality, it is incredibly complex. It was once believed that humans could distinguish around 10,000 scents. Today, we know that our nose can detect up to 1 trillion different aromas. It's a whole universe of sensations, from the smell of fresh bread to the subtle notes of smoke or gas that can warn us of danger. Think about it. The nose helps you recall childhood memories through the aroma of grandma's pies, or feel the excitement of spring through the scent of damp earth. We tend to consider sight as the primary sense, but the nose is a true superhero, working quietly and unnoticed, saving us from mistakes every day and filling our lives with memories. You won't believe it, but some human cells continue to live decades after their owner's death. In 1951, samples were taken from Henrietta Lacks's tumour, and her cells turned out to be immortal. They divided faster than normal and didn't age. These cells, known as HeLa cells, became the foundation for numerous studies, from vaccine development to cancer research. Today, they continue to thrive in laboratories around the world. Ironically, Henrietta herself was unaware of her legacy, and her family struggled for recognition for a long time. It turns out that one person unknowingly gifted science a priceless tool. The Amazon is a river so powerful that its fresh water flows into the Atlantic for hundreds of kilometres. Imagine sailing on a ship in the open ocean, and the water around you is still not salty. Scientists call this phenomenon one of the greatest wonders of hydrology. The Amazon acts like a giant faucet, diluting the ocean's salinity so abundantly that fish and plants feel its effects far beyond the mouth of the river. No other river in the world can transform the sea in such a way. The Amazon is not just a river, it is a living artery of the planet, demonstrating how water can be stronger than even the greatest ocean. Imagine that life on Earth could hit a reset button. There's a chilling hypothesis called Medea. It suggests that microbes can trigger mass extinction events. The idea is that microorganisms, which have dominated the planet for billions of years, can alter the environment so drastically that complex life simply ceases to exist. It's as if Earth returns to a primordial state. This concept is controversial yet eerie. Nature sometimes seems to reset its experiments, as if pressing a restart button. We tend to view life as invincible, but this theory reminds us that its greatest enemy might be itself. Giant whales are not just marine giants, but also true sanitizers of the climate. When a whale dies, its massive body sinks to the ocean floor, taking with it tons of carbon. This is roughly equivalent to the emissions produced by 100 cars over their lifetime. So whales help clean the atmosphere simply by living their lives. Scientists refer to them as carbon graveyards, but it doesn't sound sad at all. Each whale makes the world a cleaner place. It's amusing that the largest creature on the planet, weighing hundreds of tons, works in harmony with nature to ensure we breathe fresh air. Typically, twins are born just minutes apart, at most a few hours. However, there was a unique case in history where there was an 87-day gap between the births of two sisters. The first girl was born prematurely, and doctors managed to prolong the pregnancy until the second one was strong enough. As a result, their birthdays fell in different months and even different seasons. Imagine how the parents felt. 2 celebrations instead of 1. and a record that made it into the books. This case demonstrates that medicine and human patience can work wonders, and life sometimes writes scripts that are hard to imagine. The story of the first feature film in human history remains forever incomplete. In 1906, Australia produced The Story of the Kelly Gang, a film that lasted over an hour, which was a technical marvel for its time. Audiences were thrilled, but only a quarter of the film has survived to this day. The rest is irretrievably lost. Imagine if the first novel by Tolstoy or an early painting by Picasso had vanished. We know the film existed and understand its significance, but future viewers will never experience it in its entirety. The history of cinema began with a mystery that will always remain untold. It turns out that we perceive smells not only with our noses. Our skin has receptors that respond to aromatic substances. Scientists conducted experiments by applying certain scents to the skin and observed that the cells reacted. Moreover, some aromas accelerated wound healing. It seems that our skin acts like an additional sense organ that quietly works in the background. Imagine if we could smell the aroma of coffee not just with our noses, but also with our palms. While this sounds fantastic, research shows that the skin does indeed pick up chemical signals. We all dream of hitting the big jackpot, but the odds are so slim that even the trip to buy a ticket is more dangerous. Statistics show that the likelihood of dying on the way to the kiosk is higher than winning the grand prize. It's funny, but it's true. This doesn't mean buying a ticket is pointless. After all, excitement and hope are part of the game. But it's important to remember, true luck isn't about winning millions. It's about getting home safe. So when someone says, "I'm pretty sure I'm going to win," you can reply, "The main thing is not to get into an accident on the way." Sometimes just living life is the biggest win. In Armenia, a chocolate bar weighing over 4 tons was once created. It measured 5.5 meters long and nearly 3 meters wide. Making it took 10 days and a huge amount of cocoa beans. Imagine, an entire stadium of children could have feasted on this chocolate field. When the chocolate was finally unveiled at the celebration, it wasn't placed in a museum. It was simply broken apart and shared with the people. There's something touching about this. The largest sweet symbol in history became a communal treat. It's as if the very idea of chocolate, sharing joy, materialized in this record-breaking bar. The computer keyboard is something we touch every day, but we rarely think about how many germs are on it. Studies show that there are often more bacteria on the keys than on a toilet seat. Crumbs, dust, and grease from our hands create the perfect environment for microbial life. Therefore, regular cleaning is not just a whim, but a matter of health. Sometimes, simply wiping the keyboard with disinfecting wipes or using a special vacuum for electronics is enough. So, as you type a message or play a game, remember, beneath your fingers lies an entire zoo. And perhaps computer hygiene is more important than we tend to think. 4,500 years ago in ancient Egypt, people were making dental prosthetics. Archaeologists have found jaws with artificial teeth secured by gold wire. Of course, it looked crude compared to modern technologies, but for its time, it was a medical marvel. Imagine how a priest or noble could smile again despite losing their teeth. The Egyptians always sought to defy time, from embalming bodies to the first attempts at prosthetics. In this, they were true pioneers. Cows can climb stairs, but going down is almost an impossible mission for them. It all comes down to the structure of their legs. Their joints are designed in a way that stepping down leads to a loss of balance. Imagine a friend calling a cow to the second floor, only to end up needing special equipment to get it back down. It's amusing, but it serves as a reminder that every creature has its limitations. We can easily run down the steps, while for a cow, it's like us sliding down a hill on skates without brakes. China has built the longest bridge in the world, the Danyang Kunshan Grand Viaduct. It stretches over 160 kilometres. This high-speed railway connects major cities. Imagine riding a train while an endless bridge stretches beneath you, disappearing into the horizon. The construction took just 4 years, with thousands of engineers and workers involved. This bridge stands as a symbol of humanity's ability to conquer even the vastest spaces, turning impossible distances into ordinary roads. Chinese woman Shi Kuping became famous for not cutting her hair for over 40 years. She started growing it at the age of 13 and reached a length of 5.62 metres. That's almost 18 feet. Just imagine how much time it takes to care for such a braid. Brushing alone takes a couple of hours, and washing is a whole ritual. Sometimes she braids her hair or wraps it around herself to make it easier to move. Her record is listed in the Guinness Book of Records, and so far no one has broken it. It's reminiscent of the tale of Rapunzel, but in real life, where determination and patience become a true legend. What a surprise! It turns out that intelligent people are the ones who remember their dreams most often. Researchers have noticed a pattern. Individuals with high intelligence and rich imagination tend to recall their dreams and can recount them in detail. This is linked to brain activity during the rapid eye movement, REM phase of sleep. Of course, this doesn't mean that someone who forgets their dreams is unintelligent, but the connection is intriguing. Perhaps a developed imagination helps retain nighttime images. It seems that dreams serve as a kind of workout for the brain, and those inclined toward creativity receive a bonus in the form of vivid memories. Sometimes science plays with coincidences. The same equation is discovered by two different scientists. The Lorentz equation got its name for a reason. It was derived independently by two researchers, the Danish scientist Ludwig Lorentz and the Dutch scientist Hendrik Lorentz. The difference was nearly 10 years, and they were unaware of each other's work. In the end, both published almost the same discovery. Science sometimes has such quirks. People in different countries working on similar problems arrive at the same results. This shows that discoveries are not random. They hang in the air, waiting to be noticed. You won't believe it, but the sugar industry has been hiding the truth for decades. In the mid-20th century, sugar producers funded research that shifted the blame for heart disease onto fats and cholesterol. Scientists published articles that downplayed the dangers of sugar, redirecting attention to dangerous fats. As a result, entire generations believed that sweets were relatively safe, while the real threat was butter and meat. It was only later revealed that excess sugar is directly linked to obesity and diseases. This is one example of how business can rewrite science for its own benefit. Sloths are known for their slow lifestyle. They can hang on a tree for hours, moving at a leisurely pace, but they have an amazing skill. They can hold their breath for up to 40 minutes. In comparison, a human can typically hold their breath for 1 to 2 minutes. This ability helps sloths hide from predators and even swim across rivers while staying underwater. It seems incredible that such a slow creature possesses a superpower that few people know about. Their slowness, combined with respiratory endurance, makes them true survival masters, proving that their outward laziness is merely a facade hiding smart adaptations. The oldest joke was found on a clay tablet in Mesopotamia and dates back to around 1900 BC. And funny enough, it's a joke about gas. It says, "Never has it happened that a woman did not fart in front of her husband." Humour, it turns out, is timeless. 4,000 years have passed and the themes haven't changed. It's amusing that scholars, while deciphering the ancient text, discovered not only laws and myths, but also this little everyday joke. It seems people have always enjoyed joking about the simple and relatable. Beneath the massive feet of elephants lies an intriguing secret. They have unique toes. These special bony structures help distribute their weight and allow the animals to move almost silently. Thanks to them, an elephant walks softly despite its tons of mass. They sense the ground like a cat's pads and provide stability even on unstable surfaces. This is why these giants can calmly tread on sand, clay, or even marshy land. Their gait is remarkably light, and if you close your eyes, you might not even notice a whole elephant sneaking up on you. Nature has once again demonstrated its engineering genius. The elephant's trunk is a true marvel of nature. Imagine an organ with around 40,000 muscles, more than the entire human body. Because of this, an elephant can tear off heavy branches, gently pick up a small berry, and even embrace its young. They use their trunks to drink water, make sounds, and play, almost like hands. Baby elephants sometimes even suck on their trunks like children do with their thumbs to soothe themselves. It's hard to believe that one tube can perform so many tasks, from brute strength to gentle gestures. That's why the elephant's trunk is one of the most unique and multifunctional tools created by nature. When we see an iceberg, it appears to be a massive chunk of ice proudly floating in the ocean. But the most treacherous part is that 90% of its mass is hidden beneath the surface. This means we only see a small tip, while the bulk remains concealed in the depths. This is why icebergs are so dangerous for ships. The underwater portion can be many times larger than what is visible. It's no wonder the Titanic collided with such a massive block, completely unaware of its scale. An iceberg is like an iceberg of problems. What's on the surface is just a small part. The water keeps its secrets deep, and they can be fatal for those who underestimate the danger. Today, we send each other emojis, hearts and pizza in chats, as if they've always existed. But the first emojis appeared in Japan in the late 90s. There were only 176 of them, and they looked very simple. A sun, a phone, a smiling face. Back then, it seemed trivial, but now emojis have turned into a real language, understood all over the world. It's amusing that the idea came from a Japanese mobile company. They just wanted to make communication easier for their users. Now the entire world expresses emotions through these tiny images. You could say that without these little symbols, texting would be dull, like tea without sugar. If Saturn surprises with diamond rain, then the phenomenon on Neptune is even more impressive. Under pressure and at immense temperatures, methane in the planet's atmosphere turns into diamond crystals that fall like raindrops. Imagine precious stones gathering in the sky instead of clouds. Of course, at depth, they break down into other forms of carbon, but the process itself is astonishing. A world where diamonds rain from the sky seems like a fairy tale, yet it truly exists. However, it's unlikely that humans will ever reach it. Conditions are just too extreme. But the thought of such natural luxury is captivating. You won't believe it, but Isaac Newton was a secret agent. At the end of the 17th century, he was appointed as the Master of the Royal Mint in England. At that time, the country was suffering from an influx of counterfeiters. Newton didn't limit himself to office work. He disguised himself, visited taverns, gathered evidence, and brought criminals to justice. His efforts led to dozens of arrests. So the author of the Laws of Mechanics was simultaneously waging a real battle against the underground. History remembers him as a great scientist, but few know that part of his life resembled a spy novel. In the mountainous regions of India, people have found a way to collect water directly from the air. They stretch large nets that capture droplets of mist. The moisture drips into reservoirs, providing villagers with a source of water even during dry spells. This simple yet ingenious solution saves thousands of lives. Imagine being able to catch a cloud in a net and turn it into drinking water. For the mountain dwellers, this is not a fantasy, but a reality. This method demonstrates how ingenuity helps people survive in the toughest conditions. In the United States, sheriffs are not appointed officials, but elected positions. Unlike many countries where police chiefs are appointed by the state, in America, residents of the county elect their sheriff. The term can range from 2 to 6 years, and it is the people who decide whom to trust with maintaining order. The sheriff leads their department, hires deputies, and operates independently from the FBI or police. Today, there are about 3,500 sheriff's offices in the US, ranging from small ones with 2 people to large ones with thousands of employees. Thus, a sheriff is both a law enforcement officer and a politician who must earn the trust of their community. Even wild wolves know how to wag their tails, and they do it with a specific meaning. We are used to dogs expressing joy and friendliness this way, but their wild ancestors, the wolves, do the same thing, albeit with a different significance. Young wolves wag their tails in front of older ones, showing respect and submission. Sometimes the tail helps to ease a tense situation. It's a way of saying, "I'm not a threat, I acknowledge your authority." Thus, this gesture in dogs is not a coincidence, but an ancient legacy. It's amusing to think that when you play with your dog's tail, you are witnessing an echo of the behaviour of its distant ancestors who lived in forests and packs. Imagine an animal that can live its entire life without drinking a single drop of water. This is the kangaroo rat, a small rodent found in the arid regions of North America. They obtain all the moisture they need from the seeds they eat. Their bodies are designed so that their kidneys process moisture extremely efficiently, resulting in urine that is thick and almost paste-like. Because of this, they thrive in conditions where even camels would struggle. Remarkably, these tiny creatures have proven to be more resilient than animals renowned for their ability to endure thirst. Nature seems to have crafted them as a symbol of survival in the desert. The largest spider on the planet is the Goliath bird-eater. Its leg span can reach 30 centimetres and it weighs over 170 grams. This hairy giant can hunt not only insects, but also small rodents, lizards, and even chicks. When encountered, it can produce a frightening hissing sound by rubbing its legs together. Despite its fearsome appearance, its bite is not deadly to humans. It's similar to a wasp sting. However, the impression of an encounter is strong. It's like a small dog in the world of spiders. Scientists call it the king of spiders, and it's hard to argue with that. The medieval chivalric order still exists and even issues its own passports. The sovereign military order of Malta, founded during the Crusades, is recognized by the international community as a sovereign entity, despite not having its own territory. The order has its own passports, stamps, and even currency, the Maltese scudo. It boasts tens of thousands of knights, volunteers, and doctors working around the globe. Many find it surprising that this medieval institution continues to thrive in modern times, preserving not only its traditions, but also real legal privileges. It stands as one of the few examples where the past and present coexist side by side. Strange but true, there is a philosophy that rejects logic. It's called anti-intellectualism. Its essence is that intuition and action are more important than reasoning. Proponents believe that conclusions are too slow and unreliable, while traditions and experience are more valuable than any arguments. Essentially, it's a philosophy of do rather than think. This approach may seem wild to a rational person, but it has genuinely existed and found followers. Throughout history, there have always been those who trusted their hearts more than their minds. Thus, even in philosophy, there are teachings that consciously reject the very foundation of philosophy: reasoning. Today, the Earth's population has surpassed 8 billion people. Imagine, that's 8 billion stories, voices, smiles, and destinies. For comparison, in just the last 100 years, we've quadrupled in number. Once, only a few million people lived on the planet, and now that many can reside in a single, large city. This figure prompts us to think about the future. Will resources be sufficient? Will we learn to care for the planet? Yet at the same time, 8 billion represents 8 billion opportunities, ideas, and discoveries that could change the world. In English, a group of ladybugs is called loveliness, which can be translated as grace or charm. This is perhaps one of the most fitting names for these creatures. Imagine a meadow where dozens of bright red bugs are crawling through the grass. The word herd would sound harsh, while loveliness perfectly captures the mood. Language often reflects people's attitudes toward nature, and in this case, it is incredibly warm. It feels as though the ladybugs themselves have earned the title of the cutest beings in the insect world. An ant can lift a load 50 times its own weight. If a human had such abilities, they could easily throw a truck over their shoulder and stroll down the street. The secret lies in the ant's powerful muscles working with a lightweight exoskeleton, and its body weight is distributed quite differently than ours. In a colony, this turns into a complete transportation system. Dozens of ants carry food and building materials, like little labourers on a construction site. Their strength is one of the best examples of how size does not determine capability. Even great doctors can find themselves at the centre of family accusations and scandals. Henry Heimlich became famous as the physician who invented the life-saving manoeuvre for choking, known as the Heimlich manoeuvre. However, his son Peter claimed that his father merely appropriated others' ideas and that the Red Cross helped promote the method. Moreover, Peter called him a fraud and a vain man craving fame. The family conflict turned into a public scandal, and the image of the heroic doctor became less clear-cut. This story serves as a reminder that even the most noble discoveries can be surrounded by controversy, and behind a prominent name can sometimes lie a complicated individual. In Slovenia, archaeologists discovered a wooden wheel that is about 5,000 years old. It was made from ash and secured with oak wedges. For its time, it was a true engineering marvel, a component that allowed people to transport heavy loads and build new roads. Imagine an ancient craftsman who first thought to turn a log into a circle and fit it onto an axle. From that moment, an entire era began. The wheel became a symbol of progress, and although it looks somewhat crude, it is from such finds that the history of all modern machines and trains began. Who would have thought that the hockey mask was invented by a Japanese man? In 1936, goalie Teiji Honma took to the ice in an unusual piece of equipment, a face mask resembling a samurai helmet. At the time, his idea seemed strange, but it later became the foundation for modern protective gear in hockey. Today, it's hard to imagine a goalie without a mask, but it was once considered unnecessary. Honma was a pioneer who blended the traditions of his culture with the sport. Thanks to him, hockey gained an item that has saved the health of thousands of players around the world. Many have noticed the small coloured squares at the bottom of toothpaste tubes. Rumours claim that they indicate the composition. Green means natural, red means chemical. But in reality, these are just marks for machines at the factory. They help accurately position the tube during packaging and labelling. The colour of the square is not related to the ingredients. It's simply a technical marker. It turns out we've been attributing significance to ordinary paint stripes for decades. It's amusing how easily myths are born. A small square can transform into a secret code, when in fact, it's only meant for the assembly line. Digital clocks are much more accurate than mechanical ones. Electronic devices use the vibrations of a quartz crystal, which functions almost like a perfectly precise metronome. Mechanical clocks, on the other hand, rely on springs and gears, making them more prone to wear and inaccuracies. The difference can be minutes over a month, while digital clocks may only lose a few seconds. Imagine a race. One runner stays perfectly on track, while the other constantly veers off slightly. That's how it is with clocks. Yet the irony is that mechanical watches often become symbols of luxury and style. It may seem like ordinary things, but if you take a closer look, they hold the most unexpected stories. If you enjoyed this journey through the world of curiosities, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. There's even more to come that textbooks have kept silent about.